Let me say good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. That's a couple of good mornings there. To our listeners, those of you via Classic Radio, viewers via GBN TV, those of you via social media platforms, the Facebook page, YouTube channels, GBN's webpage, good morning to you and welcome to another edition of To The Point. Today being Monday, the 5th day of February 2024. Let me say good morning to Mr. Sylvan McIntyre. Good morning to you, sir. Welcome.
Oh, hi,
I think it's
morning.
a new, I was just say happy new month, all kind of thing to you. You know?
Yes, the last one was
last month.
Last month?
Yeah, you could say it like that, right?
My goodness. So it's really, really a wonderful day. Good morning to you. Good morning to GBN and to Grenada, Carrico, PT Martinique. It's a lot. I'm excited. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for being part of this process of getting to 50. And it's really good to be here. And we look forward to an interesting program today.
So true. I mean, just a couple of days from now, it's going to be Independence Day, the actual anniversary of our 50th anniversary of independence. Yeah. Yes, the day, on that date, 50 years ago.
Right.
You know
I was here, right?
Yeah, you was here.
Yeah,
you was here. You were part of this.
50 years ago, I saw the hoisting of the flag, and
you saw all of that.
Yeah. I saw some stuff.
Lucky you.
I was a young fellow anyway, actually, but I remember some things, and I remember what happened before.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yes, what happened before as well. So
I have no recollection of that. I probably was.
You were there?
No, not yet. Not yet.
You're a very young man, right?
Not yet. Oh, well, it's an interesting week. Tell us. We always have that bit of a preview before we kick the actual conversation off this morning. What took place of a worrisome nature? If there were anything to worry about during the course of last week. I remember we had that little, of course, Sahara dust issue there that I had lots of friends who were complaining about.
Haze was in the atmosphere last week.
I had lots of friends who had to stay home, had to cancel going to work because of the Sahara dust out there. Tell me what's going on.
Oh yeah, so the week in review, that's quite a lot. Yeah. But as you started with the Sahara dust, and so it's one of the things that we can say we've progressed over the years in terms of being able to forecast and give indications as to what's likely to happen. And kudos to the Met Services. They did say to us that the atmosphere was going to be a bit hazy, and so it was as a result of the Saharan dust that was coming across our way. So again, it's an aspect of climate change. It's similar to the pattern of the tropical cyclones that come from that area and come across the Caribbean.
Right.
So the northeast, southeast trade winds and so that comes across and so on. They would cause things to come across. So and the world is becoming more globalized, shrinking as a smaller village. Because remember when the volcano erupted in St. Vincent, it was seen, ash was all the way over across Spain.
So true.
It was taken quite across the world. So it's just an indicator that, things can affect us. Diseases and other things can be, transported or moved from one part of the globe to the other really quickly. And so it reiterates the need for us to be prepared. And if we're chatting 50 as to how Grenada progressed, we can say the Met Office is one of the places that we have seen some progress. The ability to forecast, to guide us through these processes and tell us what to do when these things are happening. That is a mark that we have.
I would say, let's go back 30 years ago. Having knowledge of the Sahara that's affecting us and stuff. Have we ever been having that kind of issue before? Let's go back up to 30 years.
Oh yeah, we have been having it.
Yes. But it was maybe something that we have probably never been paying attention to.
And we have been having it, but it has increased a bit. But what we find is the use of information and the access to it has become easier, and so information becomes easier to be transmitted and transferred to people, so that people become more aware of it. But you wake up at times in the past and you found outside was a bit hazy and you're wondering whether somebody was doing smoke or burning something somewhere in the area, and that was as a result of those kind of a haze. But we did not have that widespread information sharing and so on, and not that the knowledge was not there, but the ability to bring it across was limited. So people just had to have used it, and people had reaction to it, like allergies and the people with asthma systems, respiratory challenges, that would affect it definitely. And so it was there with us, but as the passage of time, if you ask the meteorologists, hydrologists and so forth, they will also tell you that yes, there has been some movement as a result of climate change. The atmosphere has become easier. That system has become more fluid, so that it can be transferred across.
And with the aid of technology, we could actually predict when the time we're going to experience have those experiences coming around.
And what has happened, it has created a pattern. And even the weather meteorologically, in terms of rain and sun, etc. and all that, if you look at, there's some things called in those forecasting periods. There's something called return periods for cyclones, tropical cyclones, etc. And the scientists have generated models that would show you that over a period of time there are things that are likely to happen. And if you look what happened or been happening with us in the region, you realize that October, November, December were the last decade or so, we've been having a particular rain style and system. You could actually predict that in October, November, you'll probably get some heavy rain.
Yes.
Into Christmas around that time, you'll also get some, and that has been.
And sometimes the predictions are panned out pretty properly. Sometimes.
Yeah. The models have been pretty accurate.
Yeah.
It's just that in some cases, our inability because of limited resources, particularly in the small island developing states, we don't have access to a lot of things, so it seems to be at a disadvantage. This will form part of the conversation this morning in terms of how Grenada has progressed, looking at risk reduction, risk management, disaster mitigation, how we've charted and really managed to come to where we are and to be better in dealing with natural hazards impacting and causing disasters, and the one induced or caused by anthropogenic, by man's intervention.
So true.
We're going to speak a little bit about that. But I want to go back to the week on the review.
Yeah.
Quite a lot has happened. You realize that we were speaking about the field of 50, Grenada. And I can tell you, there was some punch I got on my stomach going across the last couple of days. There was so many things happening across Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Mac that you cannot really miss it. I went to Carriacou and PT Matnik.
All right.
There was the Independence celebration. There was the military parade, which I narrated and so on the island. Oh, PT Matnik, we love you. We love you. So it's PT Matnik, Grenada, Carriacou.
Yeah.
In that order with the Independence celebration, and they did a remarkable display. I'm sure some of it were highlighted on the programs, but kudos to the organizing committee on both islands. The showcase of the culture. They did use the theme for 2024, and they displayed that really nice. And the display of the colors across country, that was phenomenal.
Right.
And also the military parades, I commended the officers. PT Matnik had a smaller type size parade. The numbers were basically technically the same, but in terms of the number of activities, it was lessened. But it was not short of what happened in Carriacou.
Okay.
And they both are significant events that would go down in Grenada's history and so forth.
It's like a build-up of what's to come on the mainland.
Yes, absolutely. And I commend, like last year, Her Excellency and the Prime Minister, they were not able to make it on PT Matnik, and they both were there this year.
Oh, great.
Again, I commended Her Excellency, how she was clad in her gold color.
Yeah.
And it really punctuates what we're saying. It's a golden jubilee.
Yes.
And I think gold really should be the highlight punctuating Grenada.
The highlighted color.
Yeah, and even some of the gala, I think in Carriacou as well, gold and black was the order of the day in terms of the dress for the gala.
Happy to hear that.
In PT Mat in Carriacou. And so that was really, really, really good. On the islands, I take my hat off to the organizing committee.
Yes.
Led by, what's her name? I think Miss George was the lady I spoke to.
In Carriacou?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure of her name.
She's a very nice lady, pleasant lady, and she was really involved.
I had her on the show once, but it slipped her name right now.
Yes.
In terms of who did
and
the show.
We have the gentleman from PT Matnik as well, and the name just seemed to be slipping me this morning. Yes, Mr. Logan.
Yes.
In PT Matnik.
Okay.
Tremendous guy as well, and they did a fantastic job.
Right.
As we come across mainland, there were the concert.
Yes.
Oh man,
you attended?
No, I couldn't, unfortunately.
Well, I didn't attend it also, but viewed it via television, and it's pretty interesting. And especially the first segment of the show, I thought was perfect.
Right, showcasing Grenada's talent.
I really enjoyed the first segment of it.
Yeah, into the wee hours of the morning. And so when my daughter went, I went to pick her up after, midnight when she had most of it, I think she was saturated.
All right.
And that was cool. And a lot of people speak about the events and the artists coming back and the performance. They said it was a jam pack, it was a bit long, but I think 50, we will be 50 once. So it's in your face, around your body, everywhere, just let us have it. And it went down.
Right.
And also there was the drag racing and other events.
In Pearls. Yes. Was it yesterday, right?
Yeah. St. Andrews had some things. The cultural committees up there had some aspect showcasing the history of Grenada. You know what? The drag racing, the cultural events in St. Andrew, the community cleanup and painting. And
that continues to go on pretty nicely.
Yeah. So as we review that week and speak about some of the highlights, I want to re-emphasize 50 and Grenada.
Yeah.
50 will be once, but Grenada will be here with us. And so the spirit that we generated for celebrating in 50, we should continue that
throughout the entire year of activities and beyond.
And finally, there was the massive religious, I think it's an ecumenical service, where all these religions came together.
That happened yesterday.
To bless Grenada and so forth. And I went to church. I did not attend that ecumenical service, but I attended my home church in Beaton yesterday. And the local congregation, they were blessed with a personal greeting and message from Her Excellency.
Okay, great.
That was great. It showed the quality of the individual. She didn't think that she was too high there to just say to her church, Happy Independence, and to pray for the nation and so on. So that personal touch that was added to their independence service yesterday morning was a tremendous blessing, understanding that you had a personal greeting from the head of state.
All right,
that
great.
meant a lot, and it goes across country. It shows that if we really look across to each other, respect each other, and we do not feel ourselves different or bigger in some way, or other people are inferior to us, I think we will build 50 in a stronger way. And that's one of the highlights. That's one of the look forward, that we should be a stronger, united nation.
All right. You know, what was interesting to me this week also, I had a couple of individuals on the show who spoke a lot on the history, on the build-up of, from the startup of when these Eric and so forth, and the other individuals who went to the UK to obtain independence for us.
Right.
And what happened before that. And they had, a diverse knowledge of it. So it was interesting for me as someone who, I say I'm young, I'm listening to them, and it was interesting to know how what Grenada has been through.
The process.
From that time to, of course, to now.
To where we are.
To where we are now. It's interesting to know that.
And despite Grenada being referred to as an island of conflict, struggle and so forth make you a stronger person or individual or a nation. And so I don't think that anything that we really earned that mean a lot to us, it
didn't come easy.
It did not come easy.
And a key word that everyone who spoke about resistance.
Yeah,
resistance was like the key word. All these individuals who spoke, the resistance that Grenada went through, or had our individuals within this island had to go through, starting back from the days of the Calenagos come up. Resistance was in order for where we had gotten to, they ought to obtain the independence. That particular way of them explaining it in that way suddenly grabbed my interest. The resistance part of it.
Yeah, and I think resistance is built in maybe the human nature, but certainly in the Grenada's DNA. I think in our country.
We like to put up that fight, eh?
Yeah, of course we would fight. We don't just take things for face value and for granted. You come to us and just say yes. Grenadians will ask. And if they figure that there's something that they need to stand up for, they'll stand up and fight for it. And I think it's written in our DNA. I just think that it has to be controlled in terms of the extent to which we resist and we put up our opposition and objections to things. And when we oppose, when we object, it must be for justified reason. And when we identify something that should not be, we should be able to identify something that should be. And so there would not be just, a lot of people just speak for speaking's sake, they resist for resistance sake. They oppose because they think they could oppose, and they do not give you any good indication as to what should be different. And I think one of the things that stands on our program when we hold it on Mondays is that when we identify issues, we look at how could we do it differently
and make things better for everyone on this island.
And that's the thing that's been coming back as a feedback from our program, GT. People enjoy it. Again, hear what? I missed it. We had Redemption Time. That is that play written by Francis Ross Peters.
Yes.
That's Grenada's play, man. And Redemption Time charted the course from the Gary era right on to the Rescue Mission, Invasion, Intervention. And so people were able to connect the pieces.
Yeah.
And that too, it was a success.
I've always I always wanted to come to view that play, but time just never permits. Or something always comes up and I have to miss it. I really hope one of these days I could actually come and review that. I hope it gets another opportunity to play it again that I can see. I know he's moving to Grenville, right?
Grenville was the last weekend.
Last weekend?
Yes, of course it was.
Man, I'm way behind time with it. Huh?
We're hoping that it's going to be adopted by Grenada, and so that our students could be privileged to have it through a matinee and so on, and the state could already adopt it and could be taken to the diaspora. That's one of the things that we hope can happen, because all of the feedback we've had from it so far, Grenada, it's people saying, listen, man, it brought tears, it brought laughter, it brought that sort of nostalgia that really came with it, and it brought the history. And so people saying, that is Grenada's thing, that we should try to allow Grenadians who are in the diaspora, who are not privileged to be part of that level of history, and having it to be dramatized in such, a fantastic way. It's something that everybody should.
I have always been intrigued by Grenada's history as for a youngster coming up. I always intrigued. There's always something interesting that you miss. Even though you've been told the story 20 times, it always seems something fresh you're hearing. You understand about Grenada's history every time you listen to it. Mr. McIntyre, we drew for a break. Let's take it. We come back and get into our meet-up discussion when we come back. So with us, folks, to the point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. We'll be right back.
Discover a new world of inspiration.
Good morning, Petit Martinique. Good morning, Carriacou. Good morning, Grenada. What a day to be alive. Today is the day we've all been waiting for. Today you have something to celebrate. Today we reflect and celebrate our journey, our people, our nation. Today is the day to show your national pride. Today is the day we put aside our differences and unite. Today is the day we adorn ourselves in red, in green, and in gold. Today we shine like the 7 stars on the flag. Today we salute. Today we pay tribute. Today we appreciate. Today we step out as we step into a new chapter. 50 years of progress. 50 years of achievements. Let's go, Petit Martinique and Carriacou. Let's go, Grenada. Let's go to the Golden Jubilee celebration on February 7th at the National Stadium. I'll see you there.
The Planning and Development Authority of Grenada, PDA, is enforcing regulations to curb illegal, disorderly, and unauthorized development in several locations throughout the state of Grenada. The authority is concerned that structures mainly associated with vending are negatively impacting the environment, has undesirable public health and sanitation consequences, present obstructions to vehicle and pedestrian traffic, can become projectiles during adverse weather conditions, and generally affect the aesthetics of the nation. The PDA will work along with stakeholder ministries and institutions to effect the demolition, removal, and disposal of structures which fall in the category of illegal and disorderly development, commencing January 2024. In this regard, persons who vend in or occupy such illegal structures are advised to secure their personal belongings and have the structures removed ahead of the planned PDA demolition operations. These actions of the PDA have become necessary to safeguard and protect public health and the environment, ensure the safety and well-being of all citizens and visitors, discourage any future disorderly construction, and encourage compliance to regulations pertaining to physical development in the state of Grenada. This is a message from the Planning and Development Authority of Grenada.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to the point. Of course, here on, Classic Radio and GBN TV. Of course, Mr. McIntyre, welcome back. Welcome back. Our meat of our conversation this morning. Today we want to speak about, of course, Grenada's readiness for emergencies. You know, whether it's natural, whether it's human induced. We want to speak about that a wee bit.
Yeah.
My first question, of course, in our topic line this morning, going to lead to something like this. How do you define readiness for emergencies? Define readiness for emergency. How do you actually define that?
Yeah, there are a couple of ways you can define it. And one, you look at the instruments in terms of what's there, legislation, etc. That would speak to readiness. The other aspect, third, you look at infrastructure, the physical infrastructure that will give you an indication as to how ready you can be. And the third mechanism would be the human resource capacity and capability to lead the process and to be part of the process when there is something to respond to. And so this morning we would want to, highlight maybe 3 of those aspects as to how 50 years ago we tend to be, and forgive me, I chose this angle this morning because we need to not lose vision of Grenada's risk and Grenada's vulnerability.
Yeah.
And so while the pomp and ceremony and the colors are there, and understanding, we get into 50 and all of that, and the accolades that would be laid on people and other things, but the whole aspect of our ability to deal with things that we really don't have control over, that we cannot change, but we are able to mitigate or put some things in place. I think that need to be highlighted, and so that's why I chose this angle. I don't want us at any moment, because that's my forte actually. And if I have the knowledge, I have the experience in being able to help in that process, I think we really should. And so it is also good to show where we came from in that aspect of it.
Yes.
Some of the weaknesses that are there, and how we can bridge the gap. And going forward, what would be some of the recommendations as to where we are. So yes, we look at Grenada from the 1950s, 1959. I'm speaking now of natural hazards.
Yeah.
But if you follow Grenada as well from the 16th, 17th century, when you had the Federalist revolutions and rebellions, and you have the rebellion from the days of the slavery and all of that, what kind of a structure existed there for them to have dealt with or deal with natural impacting hazards? And the human-induced one, where you have revolts, you have wars and all of these kind of things, what people really use and how Grenada built its own resilience to deal with that, and where we actually came from, how people were treated medically, how people responded, because earthquakes, hurricanes and storms and all these things, they existed before this generation.
And they haven't happened on island, on this island. They happened on island.
In addition to that, when we speak about our ability to rebound and to be resilient, you look at the engineering aspects of our physical infrastructure, our roads and our buildings. Some of the buildings that were built there 14th, 15th century and so forth, some of them are still there. Yeah. Our forts and all of these things, there are particular engineering designs that went into them that give us an aspect of resilience. If you look at some of the designs of some of the houses in the past, where they don't have necessarily the flat roof, but some of them have the gable type looking roof, and they have these parapets and they have this area of vent that is closer to the roof, right up on that apex.
Yes.
Sometimes there's a little hole, some that look like a design.
Yeah.
And some
or maybe see the little window,
those little windows and all these things. They were put in for particular reasons. One, they were putting for ventilation. Yeah. Keeps the area of the structure much cooler. So it helped the circulation of air and everything that came through, because the air on the inside that is generated, there's place for it to exit as well. And in addition to that, when tropical systems are formed of the pressure that's built in on the inside, you may have heard people speak about, if a storm is coming, open your windows, or open one of the windows. And that is literally one of the reasons why these things were built into the roof structure, because when the pressure has been built on the inside, there's an area that needs to exit. Yeah. If that pressure continues, if you shut every place up, and that pressure continues, it will pop. And I literally saw that in one of the places where I was during Hurricane Ivan. Yeah. You saw the buckling of the roof going up and down, and you felt the pressure.
Because there was no way for the pressure to be released.
Insufficient place for it to have been released. And that's one of the reasons why we lost a lot of roof in some instances, because that process was not integrated. So looking over the years in terms of how the slaves that were instructed and our foreparents that built, they did build things in a particular way. You look at our forts and houses where they did not have the regular type cement, but they actually used the white lime, and you may have heard of putting the egg yolk and all these things that would help put some strength within the aggregates that they were building with. So they were built, and actually they had some level of resistance. You look at some of the houses that even came through, and the designs after Hurricane Janet in 1955. You remember there were some houses that were called Janet House.
Janet houses.
And when you look at some of these houses, how they were designed and so forth, you'd realize throughout the Caribbean, in my own experience, I've seen a lot of them with those kind of designs. They actually stood up against very strong adverse conditions.
Some even went through Hurricane Ivan. Also.
That's when I went through
and maintained it and weren't even destroyed.
That's correct. So we must not lose sight of chatting or following our past, seeing where we are. So as we look at that, hurricanes or tropical cyclones are the things that we've seen most. Well, there's an annual threat of one of these impacting our island. But remember, I spoke of the instruments or the intangibles that are there. For instance, when the volcano of Kikemjeni in the early 1930s was discovered, there was no real structure for dealing with those events. And so within, again, the office of the Prime Minister, I remember, I can't remember her name now, but there was this lady who was one of the persons who were first identified just with a desk or a table to just look at what was happening with Kikemjeni. That's where the whole system of managing natural hazards came in, when they started putting a structure and looking at what was happening with Kikemjeni. I think it was in the 1970s when one of the planes was flying over and they saw, water was coming out at a certain level up when Kikemjeni was actually erupting. Okay. And so the focus then was having something to monitor what was going on with Kikemjeni. And so from then, the National Emergency Relief Organization, NERO, it was born to look at what structure we need to have in place should these things happen. I have not really followed the history of Hurricane Janet 1955, what exactly happened and what the system and structure was in dealing with that is something I would want to delve a little bit more into. But we have seen our ability to come through those from just a one person and a no system and structure to now a fully established National Disaster Management Agency, where you have a director of management, you now have a legislation that guide that process. You have full 24 hours system of monitoring, evaluating, and an emergency response system. These are some of the things that we have to highlight as some of our achievement over the years. Our ability now to say that if there is a threat, we have the Met Office to give us early warnings. And not just early warnings against the hydrometeorological things, but again, we have things like earthquakes, volcanic eruption, that these do not give you a lot of indicators that they will happen. But the ability and the knowledge to be able to react to them is critical. We have been exposed to a lot more knowledge. We have meteorologists here in Grenada that could be compared with anybody across the world. They sit on the WMO, the World Meteorological Organization, and they represent us adequately. So they're now part of a global warning system, even for tsunamis, where we've seen over the years a lot of people lost their lives. And Grenada itself have had loss of persons here in the earlys. I can't remember exactly when, but very early in the decades, in the centuries where there were tsunamis that impacted Grenada. We had, I think, about 50 persons may have lost their life in that period of time as well. And that is not mentioned. But Grenada has gotten to the point where now there is an early warning systems for tsunamis in Grenada. Petit Martinique, Carriacou, and some aspects of Grenada, there were places where they were identified as tsunami model places where if there is a threat of that, people understand there are some instruments, there are trails, there are markings that they can go through. And the knowledge of what to do is something that we cannot downplay. And that is critical. That is from not having any knowledge or instruments or system at all. We've gotten to the point where, and we're very far away from being good.
Yes.
But in terms of a foundation, and in terms of the knowledge and the ability to have instruments in place, that is a commendable achievement within the last 50 years of Grenada's existence.
All right. But do you think, of course, we as a people, of course, we have gone through various experiences in this beautiful island of ours. Do you think we are still, our mindset is still, have that level of readiness just in case an emergency of those natures occur again?
And good question, or maybe an observation. It's human nature to become complacent or comfortable when things are not happening frequently, when things are happening regularly, and so you just tend to become very relaxed.
Yes.
And that's, to me, human nature, and certainly Grenada, where people would just go into that mode. But it's one of the things that we have to keep our eyes on very closely, that for the next 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 50, 20 years, 50 years, we'll have to be able to build on that. And this is why our state mechanism has to be so on the ball that they need to be able to stay ahead of the game. If you can't stay ahead of the game, stay on it, so that our nation could be more prepared. It does not take a total devastation to create a regressive process.
Yeah.
It just takes one of these little things to happen, and it just takes maybe a couple landslides, a few floods in some area, and that could throw us back considerably. It could just take a couple wind shears that comes in particular area. They could knock our communication system off. They could slow us down in many, many different ways. We can have we now depend on fiber optic communication systems that comes through the bed of the ocean, linking the islands and so forth.
It could easily be broken.
It could be broken very, very easy. We've seen in the past where we've had some of the tremors, earthquakes, volcanic eruption, that may have caused some of them. Some of these cables have been affected, and definitely the communication process was disrupted. So in terms of charting that course, again, Grenada has moved from the point of being able to just communicate by means of telephone, the cable and wireless, sending the telegram and all these things.
And the word of mouth part of it.
And the word of mouth part of it. We now have situations where every household has at least 2 phones.
Yes, or more.
Every individual have at least.
Another question I want to ask. We have talked about the natural part of the emergencies now.
Yes.
Why shouldn't we become, complacent, especially with human induced? Sometimes we become complacent with that.
Yeah.
Emergencies that are human induced, things that happen because of human error, or sometimes, or because of what individuals' behavior may cause these particular emergencies. Why shouldn't we become complacent to that?
So and before I answer directly, but there are different reasons why certain things may turn out as emergencies and those that are human induced. For instance, we've had those causes. You have revolts and riots and all these things and uprisings that can happen. We had the 1973 situation just before Grenada's independence. I remember the looting, the rioting in some cases, the burning down of some places. And as I was saying yesterday, speaking of aspect of the history, there was that period that there was a period called the crisis of 1973, and where there was different reasons why it came on. And obviously people spoke of resistance to a process, and that was part of it as well, where in some cases people said that Grenada should not be getting independence under Eric Gary for other reasons and so forth. And I remember the trial of getting, flour, sugar and all of these things. And that was a human-caused emergency technically. And then the whole aspect of being able to get access to healthcare, that was hindered. And so people had to move to the local remedies that they knew from the home garden and from older parents who trial and error found that some things worked.
Okay.
But we have to get to the place where now uprisings, revolutions, riots, and these things are things that are likely to happen. And so the security apparatus and the security mechanism, even speaking of law enforcement and what we've done to consolidate the ability to solve crimes and to deal with those kind of, that is a tremendous achievement over the years. Our nurses, our doctors, our lawyers, our police officers, I don't think we speak enough about them. the responsibility. I don't think we recognize them sufficiently. I don't think they're given the kind of accolades that they should really, and the recognition that they really need. And sometimes they're not given the honorarium or the pay that they really naturally deserve.
Yeah, they do play an important role. You know.
They do play a critical role. So it is that kind of exposure of that aspect of the 50 years. Now I'm really cutting deep slices of that, and people are seeing, oh yeah, you know what, we just think about Grenada as an independent nation and from Britain and all that is nice. But in terms of our progress, those innate things that would make us different and make us more resilient, that would make our people, our communities more healthy and be able to respond to situation, we need to really take a stronger look into how we can build on those structures, build on those systems that we are able to now deal with more emergencies. So we're speaking about just some of the places where we came from, where there were no real community structures. The community centers, we used to call them the surgery.
Yes.
You heard about the
I have
call them the surgery. Go to the surgery.
You go by the surgery and you take whatever, you get whatever you need to have taken care of.
Medical stations and so on. But they were very useful. And 50 forward, the reasons why there were surgeries or medical stations at community level, it was the whole aspect of decentralizing and ensuring that there's a medical facility and ability at community levels.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why there were so many small police stations across country was to ensure that the people had access to law enforcement and the access to making reports, etc.
Not having to travel a long journey.
Not having to travel a long
communication issues at the time and so forth.
That's correct. And so we moved away from having a lot of these satellite facilities, and we've created, massive buildings in particular areas of Picken Camp. But should we look at this as a progress or a regress?
A regress.
In the sense
how would you look at it? No. Know that we don't have multiple, police stations and multiple, as you call it, the surgeries and so forth.
Yeah.
There's, but before there were multiple. Every particular village may have had one most times, but then we have seen it move to more centralized areas. In terms of you having to go to make those reports or go to the surgery to get those medical attention.
Yeah.
Do you see it as a regress or progress?
We can look at it from both ends, though, and maybe the process of getting them may not have been well thought out in the sense that you make changes and you probably at the time you make the change you're not quite ready for it. You may break a structure down, but you're not ready to build something that will replace it, that will be better. And so timing has a lot to do with decisions.
Yes.
They might be good decisions, they might be good idea, but the timing may not be right.
Right.
And my point is, if you ask me now, I would say even some of the smallest police stations that exist, maybe we shouldn't even have many of them, because some of them, they may have 1 or 2 reports that come in. Yeah. On the other hand, people may say, well, the station in the area shows the people that there's a police presence. The medical centers in those areas, you may say, okay, having a medical station in those areas, that is useful. People know that there's a medical station. But here what? How well resourced are they? You may go to the stations, they don't have certain things, they don't have the individuals, they are overstretched, the police are overworked, they are not relieved properly because the manpower is
the understaffing and so
the understaffing, all of that. So you ask yourself whether or not that is footing the situation. And you may say, would it be better then to have major or better resource facilities and your ability to move quicker with technology to get to these places rather than having those that are there under-resourced and otherwise, and they don't serve their purpose. So it is the conversation that we can have in terms of how well we have handled that situation, ensuring that emergency response is at the community level. If you ask me now, I would tell you definitely we do not have the sufficient community embedded response teams.
All right.
You don't necessarily need to have the polyclinics or the major centers. You need to have that health facilities decentralized. But to complement that, you must have an embedded community structure where you have the community resourced, they are empowered, and they are able to respond and react to situation before the expert help arrive. And that is not an understatement. It takes a lot of planning, discussion, consultation to ensure that we have effective community response. So while, yes, having facilities decentralized across country may create the image of efficiency, but on the other end, when challenged, when faced with these situations, you would find that they do not really hold because they are not well resourced.
Yes.
Human equipment, material, etc. And that is something going forward we need to really look really closely in terms of our emergency response capacity at the lowest level. How well are we? How have we built on that within the last 50 years? And is there opportunities for us to do differently?
So back there, we drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, I want us to chat a wee bit on charting the course for independence. Should I say have the present and looking forward towards maybe the next 50, the next 100. We will look at that when we come back. We also will entertain your calls from our listeners and viewers, 435-2041. If you want to chime in the conversation, feel free to do so when we do come back from the break. Stay with us, folks. We'll be coming right back.
National Lotteries Authority is a proud sponsor of many cultural activities within the Tri-Island state of Grenada.
My name is Anderson Matheson, also known as Leftist, and I'm a calypsonian and string band music player from Carriacou. I support the games of the National Lottery Authority because culture benefits tremendously. Annually, the NLA supports the Carriacou and Petit Martinique Carnival, the Carriacou String Band Music Festival, and all regattas, among other activities. When I play the game of the NLA, I can see where my money goes, and it's an investment into our culture.
Yes, Grenada, when you play the games of the NLA, you enable us to invest in the skills and talents of our people in the areas of sports, culture, and nation building.
I want you to control your anger. There's a way to feel better. That's one thing to remember. No matter where you are, you can be a star. Stop and take a deep breath and relax yourself. Take another deep breath and relax it, and relax it. Eliminate violence.
Good morning, Petit Martinique. Good morning, Carriacou. Good morning, Grenada. What a day to be alive. Today is the day we've all been waiting for. Today you have something to celebrate. Today we reflect and celebrate our journey, our people, our nation. Today is the day to show your national pride. Today is the day we put aside our differences and unite. Today is the day we adorn ourselves in red, in green, and in gold. Today we shine like the 7 stars on the flag. Today we salute. Today we pay tribute. Today we appreciate. Today we step out as we step into a new chapter. 50 years of progress. 50 years of achievements. Let's go, Petit Martinique and Carriacou. Let's go, Grenada. Let's go to the Golden Jubilee celebration on February 7th at the National Stadium. I'll see you there.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point. Of course, here on Classic Radio and HBN TV. I'm Mr. McIntyre. Welcome back. Yeah. Our next segment of the conversation, as I mentioned before the break, chanting the course for independence to the present and, the present where it is and looking forward. How you would like to put this into perspective in any way at all?
I could just summarize that in just a few words. For going forward, whether it is less than 50 or 50 plus beyond, I would wish to see a lot more effort being made in bringing us together to be more Grenada conscious, not so much on the entrepreneurship or commercialization and the political partying, etc., but to be more conscious of that portion of rock in this location that we are blessed with, how we can become more conscious of it and how we can care for it a bit more than we've done within the last 50. Yeah. And one of the breakdowns that I saw within that period was the whole aspect of recognition for the national colors, the national anthem, the national pledge, and how we respect each other. Generally, I think the respect for Grenada has a lot to do with that. Because if we think that we love each other, we love our country, there'll be more patriotism, there'll be more honoring and giving homage to Grenada as a country and recognizing and respecting those who are in authority because we love our own country. Yeah. Whether it is the Prime Minister and his government, whether it is the Commissioner of Police and the police officers who are entrusted, whether it be a manager of an entity or a boss or a foreman, that level of respect we would want to come back because people feel a sense of this is my country. Yeah. I don't want to do something to hurt somebody else because I don't want to do something to harm Grenada. I would take personal responsibility in brightening the corner where I am. Yeah. And so the spirit that seems to be rekindled for celebrating 50, it existed before in terms of how Grenadians saw where they lived. Let us clean up, let us plant flowers, let us paint, let us do this, and let us care for our country, let us care for each other. Whatever length of time we have on planet Earth, that effort in bringing us together, I would want to see that be. All right.
Still another question that just come to mind, of course. How do you think we have charted that course, in terms of looking towards the future? How do you think we have charted that course?
I think there respect is due where it is. There has been some effort in terms of highlighting that, but I don't think it's sufficient. Yeah. I think the foundation is laid in identifying community groups and organizations to lead aspects of it. We have to be able to nurture them and give them the necessary fertilization so that they can continue to grow and expand in ensuring that the whole aspect of embracing Grenada, it is really, really harnessed. And so the whole aspect of, we always identify that leadership of the process is really critical. Because if you have everybody doing everything, nothing will probably get happened.
There's always have to someone that
because somebody always looking for someone to get it done. So we have to look at identifying appropriately the people and things that would move things, not necessarily those who would sound their own trumpets without any form of void, but those who would genuinely want to contribute to the process of saying, I want to see us become stronger, I want to see us become different. Right. And I think we have good signs, good indications that we could be heading in that direction. We want to be able to not lose it and continue to build on it.
And we should definitely nurture it and get it going.
Absolutely.
Another question I would like, this one goes on a bit on a personal note from you. I hope you have a personal feeling how you're going to answer this. What do you think we need to do? From a personal, point of view for you, in terms of how we look as Grenadian, from a personal point of view for this?
There were some efforts made, and I think last weekend one of it was done where you have these community symposium, town hall meetings, having people give their contribution and their ideas as to where we lost it or what we did not do right in some cases, what we missed, where we regressed, and things that we need to do to progress. I think we need to see more of that. I think the community spirit need to be enhanced a bit more. We need to go back a lot to identifying community family structures so that we could start and continue to build from there. I love the days to go back to the things that brought us together, not those that make us individualized in a lot of sense. And technology is one of the things that really cause us to just stick to our gadget, because a gadget is your personal instrument. Yeah. Although you're exposed to millions of people, but it's still yours. But if we can come together again and have the homegrown organic sporting for things, like you pitch the marbles, you play the morale, you do the hopscotch and the other things that bring people together physically and so forth. People may say, oh, that's far-fetched, but I think there are different models of it, of getting together and doing things. And some of these community activities that we had in the past, they were highlighted at some of the communities, and I think a lot more that could be brought.
You think that could work now, Sylvan?
I think it's worth the try.
You think it could be worth the try, but you think it actually work? I mean, the past is the past. I mean, sometimes, there's always a saying: if you don't know your past, there's obviously no way you will know the future that will be coming towards you. But in today's society, where an individual will prefer to leave everybody else and be on his cell phone or whatever gadget he has to talk, and not worry about going and jump some hopscotch as you mentioned, you think that could actually work again in Grenada?
I agree with you to an extent that life has progressed, and the past may have been the past. Not everything of the past we just need to leave it in the past. Yeah. There are some things, it could be a different version, it could be a different model, but at least different year. For instance, we have Nissan, and it's a Nissan, but the model may be different, but you get the same result whether you're high performance or otherwise. I'm not promoting Nissan as a good vehicle, but it's just a name. And in terms of, you look at what you were doing and how could you do it differently to get the same result, basically. All right. And I think not enough, I can tell you, enough thoughts does not really go into the decision-making process a lot of times. I think that a lot of time things have been done with good intention, but the process of getting to that is what...
That's where the flaw comes in.
That's where the flaw comes in.
Let's take a caller. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Hello, good morning. Thanks very much. I sat and listened to your talk this morning on Grenada, and it's very, very encouraging. I was one of the founding members that went up from Grenada. Well, I lived in England, but we had a Grenadian company, and we did a lot for Grenada. So I'm very proud now, because I'm now 85, and I can sit back and see the 50th year celebration. So kudos to Grenadians for the development, and I hope that we continue to develop. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm seeing someone is agreeing with you there, Sylvan, on this. Someone said, I do agree with Mr. McIntyre that doctors, nurses, lawyers, police officers are not given the recognition and compensation for their contribution. However, that list also extends to scientists, engineers, and other technical staff who deserve awards and recognition during the 50 years of Sylvan.
Absolutely. Tell him I hope the person is really following. I agree with you.
Caller, before we continue, please lower whatever the radio or television in the background, please.
Yeah, I'll do that. I just want Mr. McIntyre to help me out with a problem I've had. Now, when I look at the flag, I see that the red is on the outside. So we might try to describe the flag as red, yellow, and green. However, when I look at all the buntings and so on, I see the green coming first, and I think it's green, yellow, and red, or something like that. Exactly how do we line up these different colors? Is it red, yellow, and green as we see on the flag with the red on the outside? Or is it all these other different configurations? Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Sylvan, you might be better to answer that.
Yes, we did touch it last week, and it's one of the things that we said we should have been doing a bit more. What belongs to us, what the red, the gold, and the green mean, is we need to have highlighted that a bit more. Let us drive it through our schools, our churches, our communities a bit more. And how the colors should be displayed. I have my my reservations, not really a reservation anymore, but my observation has shown that the knowledge of how that is handled is not across country. We need to go back to it. So, it is nationally established that the red is at the top, the gold in the middle and the green at the bottom. That's our national established system. And if you have it drip otherwise, it should be from left to right, right, left, red, center, gold, and to the right would be the green.
All right.
So it is not, and some people have politicized it. It is, when green is around, we put green at the top because that is green. If the yellow party is in power, we put the gold at the top because it is yellow's time or gold time now. And the red, because red doesn't exist, we don't really have a party too much representing red. So maybe not. These are some of the puny, petty things that sometimes people really get into. Yeah. But nationally, there is no party in the national colors.
And I think that's where the educational factor between our 50th anniversary should have come in a whole lot, where we should have had the various organizations that are responsible should be coming and educate folks more on this.
Right.
So when times come, the time come around where the beautification process is taking place, folks should have the a better knowledge of how should I be putting those colors together.
Yes. And what will be a high point in the anniversary of Grenada's 50th birthday would be the military parade on the 7th at the National Stadium. Aspects of these, we would be speaking about it. Some aspect of Grenada's history as well would be mentioned. And there is a display and a military parade that the police and all of the other units, they're really working hard to give you a special treat on that day. So I would want to use the opportunity to invite and encourage everyone to be out at the National Stadium, and the aspect of where we came from, what our colors represent, the green of our lush vegetation, the gold, our beautiful sunshine and spirit, and the red that represents the blood, the spirit, the struggle, and our ability to rise from robbers and so forth. These are some of the impact, and what the national anthem, the words of the anthem, and the national pledge, and how people respect our national anthem. We need to really, really drive that across places a bit more. And how the flags are dripped or flown, or the colors are being utilized, it leaves a lot to be desired.
And of course, and you've been doing it over the years of being one individuals who narrate, of course, on the Day of Independence, and you've been throwing that out for years. I have certainly heard you. But it goes back to what I said previously. For this entire leading up to this celebration, I think it should have been preached a bit more.
Yes.
Let's take our final caller. Guess we lost that caller there.
But our celebration will not end on the 7th.
Yes.
And Grenada will continue to go up and up and up. Up. And so the whole aspect of developing and building, we would ensure that we embed all of these within. God give us the strength, the ability to go on. We will continue to emphasize building Grenada positively. Grenada to the world. Commemoration 50th anniversary, 50th birthday.
Yes. Our Golden Jubilee.
Golden Jubilee. And the emphasis, ladies and gentlemen, is on gold, because it is Golden Jubilee.
All right. Let's take our final caller, Sylvan, before we take some closing comments. Caller, good morning. You're welcome. Good morning to you, caller.
I forget your name already. I get a little confused because I was holding on the line for so long and I just whatnot. Anyway, the color of the flag, that's my little problem. Is it really gold or yellow? Thank you very much.
Cool, sir.
Thank you so much. Sylvan, we get to that stage of the morning where we got to call it quits.
Yeah,
this is a kind of conversation we could continue all morning long. I know. Time always seems to tackle us for some reason or the other.
And every time we choose the topics, we get a bit out.
Yeah.
And then obviously we have to satisfy our viewing and
listening public, of course.
Mm-hmm. So we dare to answer the questions that they want answered, and not necessarily just give them what we think we should give them. And so it has been a pleasure highlighting the whole aspects of Grenada's history. In terms of this morning was how we are better prepared to handle Grenada's risk capacity, and we identified that there are some deficiencies, our health and decentralized abilities through community. We think that need to be enhanced. We also established that those who've done the sterling contributions through the year, that more the accolades and the recognition should be given, not just at anniversaries or otherwise, but we should show that generally through the remunerations and otherwise, that we appreciate those contributions. So as we celebrate 50, we urge everyone to be more careful and be more patriotic. And let us look towards building our families, building our society, and building our country, because I don't think there's any place that's better on earth.
I would never disagree.
We've had opportunities to live other places, and we choose
we
to
have
live
seen the beauty of
in the best place, Grenada. Let us love it and let us contribute to its development. Remember, we're going up.
And up and up. You know, Sylvan, I want to thank you so much for sharing information this morning. And that's true. Someone was just saying, you know, in terms of what you're saying, in terms of emergencies and so on, how we have dealt and how we have come a long way. And someone is saying, you know, fire drills for the police, you know, to avoid what happened on Saturday. You understand? What happened on Saturday, say for some reason they couldn't open the hydrant on Friday on Church Street for some reason. On Saturday, sorry, I heard of that little incident. But, you know, some mishaps happens. You understand? Although it should not have happened under the circumstances. Right. But, you know, but we don't have all the details about it.
In subsequent programs, we will highlight some.
Highlight that. Sylvan, thank you once again. Of course, interesting program this morning as always. Of course, we'll do this next week once again. Next week we'll probably be talking what happened, you know, post-independence celebrations. We'll probably be talking about that. Best wishes to you and happy independence if we don't get to talk again.
Same to you, my brother, and to all of us.
Our listeners and viewers. Yes. Hey, once again, to our listeners and viewers, thank you so much for being part of To The Point this morning. Join us again for another edition tomorrow. May or may not have a program tomorrow due to the programming structure. I'm not sure, but we certainly will let you know as things progresses. Have a good one, folks. That's where I say goodbye and best wishes for the rest of the day.